Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive game to share with you from round 1 of the 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championships. This is a rapid game, 15 minutes, 10-second increment. On the white end, Faustino Oro, playing against Richard Rapport. Okay, the opening we have here, an open Sicilian Dragon. Not your typical dragon, however. No great dynamics with this one. This is a primarily positional game. From here, f3, knight c6. Note the delay with the dark square bishop, not yet committing to g7. We'll see why that's the case shortly. From here, bishop e3. And here we go. No bishop g7. That is most popular. Second most popular, the move in the game, h5. Now, a couple notes here. Control over g4. This holds up the popular Yugoslav attack against the Sicilian Dragon. Playing with h4, g4. Not so easy to get g4 in now. And the other detail, the rook now supports a new developing move for the bishop through h6. We see this in the game. Now, I questioned a move order detail here with this line. I wondered, if h5 is one of the points at least is to hold up g4, can white maybe try to squeeze that move in one move sooner? So in other words, right here, b4, bishop e3 is played. This would not be a good idea. And I want to highlight why. I found this really instructive. A strong response to g4 would be e5, questioning this knight. Now I'm playing in this way, e5 creates a hole on d5, but here's the thing. Computer says best is to repair that hole on d5, to go ahead and take on c6. Now, this is not a great way for white to be playing because there's this question. If you're playing g4, where's your king going? g4 connected with kingside castles, they don't fit well together. Also, if you're capturing here on c6, black is able to work with a half-open b file. Do you really feel comfortable going queenside? If you play here, you're in the bishop's way. Here's the thing. If you fall back to b3 here, a natural-looking square, there's a sacrifice on g4. This is a reason to not play g4 too soon. You take the knight here, you are lost. There's queen h4 check. No bishop on e3 here to block the check. White king running for his life. You could lose the queen. You're going to lose the pawn. Queen is hit. There's going to be a follow-up check. You cannot survive this. Anyhow, interesting move order detail. Do not try to squeeze in g4 too soon. Bishop e3 here. h5 in the game. Queen d2 is played here. Computer points out, get on this diagonal as soon as possible. Bishop d7 as a follow-up. How it's played here, black is able to get on this diagonal first. Bishop e6 eventually in this game. All right, queen d2. Only after the queen has moved does black release this tension, captures the knight in a way, is saying, hey, if you want to recapture now on d4 with the queen, fine. You have taken now a second step to do just that. In the game, it's bishop captures knight. If queen captures knight, bishop g7 is there, and once castled, once the bishop is defended, the queen is not going to feel comfortable. She will have to move for a third time. Knight g4 would be in the air. Okay, in this game, it's the bishop recapturing on d4. And now, bishop h6. Bishop e3, dark square bishop exchange. The bishop gets on this diagonal first. No problem here obstructing the center pawn in this case. Black has healthy control over the center. e4 versus d6 battle. You really don't want to move the e pawn. This is a half open file. Moving the e pawn would give white a ready-made target in d6. Bishop e6 it is. Queenside castles. Queen a5. And from here we have a3. Black isn't concerned about a check. If bishop b5, castling by hand is cool. King f8. King g7, a very healthy post for the king. And you would just be running into a later, as white here, you would be running into a6 with tempo. b5, black would like to get in these expanding moves, a sort of minority attack on the queen side. From here it is a3, a6, queen d4, rook c8, bishop e2, queen c5. We're 15 moves in, a third of the way through the game. Position is level, but if you had to pick one side or the other, black is probably the more comfortable side. Queen exchange is nearby. No dark square bishop around. Black queen is going to occupy a very strong post here. e5, c5. A queen exchange is nearby. In general, out of the Sicilian, if there is a queen exchange, that's usually tipping in black's favor. The rooks in the endgame will turn out to be more productive. If we compare the half-open files, white's half-open file here doesn't have a wonderful target in d6. Black, on the other hand, c2 is a target. c2 is a pinned pawn. Okay, from here we have f4. Now you would like to hop to this newly weakened g4 square, but not so fast. Okay, let's unpin that knight. Castles it is. Bishop f3 on the main diagonal. Now knight g4. Threatening a fork. Knight f2 is there. The queen controlling that square. So f2 is covered. Expansion now with b5. h3 only now. Knight e3. What a difficult piece to tame. This is an unusual path we're seeing here by the king knight to get into c4. It's normally the queen knight that ends up drifting into c4. Okay, the king knight getting to this dream post. What a pest it is on c4. Follow up queen exchange, rook recapturing, paving the way for this battery. Rook d3, knight c4, knight d5, bishop for knight exchange. In the game, it's pawn captures bishop. Computer points out, try and get one pair of rooks off. Wants to go with rook captures bishop here. Okay, it's pawn captures bishop in this case. Battery is formed. e7, a target, but convenient defender. Now, follow-up from here is rook to d4. This ends up being a blunder. What's considered one of the top moves here? Computer is looking at h4. Now, one of the reasons it has its eye on h4 is to combat h4 by black, to clamp down on this g3 square, to hold up, to have that one pawn sort of control 2. Fix a white pawn on the same color square as the bishop. It's another way to look at it. Here's an instructive positional note. If you try to, as white in this position, expand, before h4, if you try to squeeze in g4, this would not be good, because black here could exchange and then play this positional pawn sacrifice with g5. And what's happening here is that black is carving out a dream square for the knight on e5. One way or another, this pawn will be influenced, capture or push. You're granted access to e5. So this is one of the reasons why the computer wants to play h4. There will be no undermining of this f4 pawn. It will be around to safeguard that e5 square. All right, how it is played here, rook d4. Pop quiz. how would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, this move here was missed by Faustino. A retreating move is the winner here. Did you spot this one? Knight a5. This carries two threats, and they cannot both be addressed. Number one, rook captures c2, winning a pawn. And number two, knight b3, taking advantage of the pinned pawn, landing a fork. Rook d2 is not a solve. You're still in there for a fork. So the try from here is king b1. If b4, you could collect the pawn straight away, or even play knight b3. The king takes a step to b1. This is now lost. That's a big pawn down for the count, and a very active rook now. Okay, the rook falls back. The knight enters. It's almost like every knight move in this game, or most knight moves, are generating an immediate threat. Knight d2, a threat now to land a fork and destroy white's kingside pawns, isolated pawns nearby. Okay, king a2, knight d2 still. Rather than the king move, if white tries this one here, that runs into a check, get a pair of rooks off, and now another tricky move here, landing a fork. So something like this. In the end, black is going to collect a second pawn. Okay, how white plays it here after knight b3, king a2, knight d2, bishop e2, knight c4, we're on that b2 square, rook b1, rook c5. At this point, how are you supposed to defend d5 now? Bishop f3, you're running into that fork. Okay, second pawn now won. This is completely over, pretty much. Look at the piece. It's not just about the material. That's what I'm trying to say. Look at the piece activity. There's no activity here, completely passive here for white. All right, this one continues with the capture on g6, g4, being as precise as possible here. You could capture at this stage, but best is this move in the game, h4. Don't give this bishop a comfortable outpost is one interpretation there. You take here, it's a stable square for a little bit. After g4, it's h4. Another way to look at it, h4 fixes this pawn on a light square, and one day, if it's ever tracked, this is a very fast passed pawn. Okay, bishop captures knight from here, pawn captures. There's now a way to get at that pinned pawn. From here, rook e6, c3, rook f1 check, king e8, and at this stage the king sneaks out, pawn is tracked, the king ends up on a more central post. I wondered about rook 1 to e1 going after this point. That would not be a good idea. If this was played, we would see rook captures pawn check. And initially I was thinking, okay, you could just hang on to your base point. But even better is rook a5 going in for mate. And you could allow a bunch of checks. They'll eventually run out. So something like this. I was thinking you hang a right here and hide on c6. It says even better is to go in this direction. So something like this. And the checks eventually run out. Something worth noting with a line like this, you don't have to worry about a double rook sacrifice. There is still in the end a double rook sacrifice with a stalemate idea, I should note, because there's still a pawn that could move. So these sorts of ideas, you would have a4 in the end, or even this recapture is still there. But anyhow, this is an idea by black to keep the king cut off here on the edge. This is why we're not seeing white go in for the e7 pawn. The king takes a step out, rook captures b2, going after the h3 pawn to defended. Some checks are flicked in. And let's see the conversion here. Not too many more moves. Follow up, rook captures g6. Rook check, king d5. Rook a4. And from here, rook h6 is played. If king e6, it's no big deal. Nearby there's mate, but this is not a stable post. It could be, e6 could be met with rook e2 straight away. What are you doing? You'll have to undo your last move here. Go back to d5. If you play to f5, rook e5 is mate. So that wouldn't go anywhere for white. It's rook h6 here, and after rook c5 check, white resigns. There's only one move if the game continued, and we would have rook e5 for mate. Anyhow, a nice positional game here out of this Sicilian Dragon. What are your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.